now I'm sitting down with Andrew. Hello, Andrew. Andrew is an IT pro manager here at Centriq. So you work a lot with instructors as well as student services and kind of keeping up with the industry. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, I do a little bit of everything from keeping the classrooms going, both from personnel to curriculum, as well as our student support or our student services division. So I joke that I do everything from cleaning the classroom to making sure that the students are there in the classroom learning, right?
All right. Yeah. That's very important role.
All the way across the board, right?
Yeah. So we had Brady on as a guest, and he works in career services. So he's more focused on uh, getting people jobs in the industry. And we talked a little bit about that industry demand and how there is a lot of demand for cybersecurity professionals, unlike some other industries out there.
Yep,
It could
definitely.
kind of be a scary time for people, whether they're working for the government or
Specifically, yes.
or in other industries. But cybersecurity continues to grow, but I know that it also changes really quickly. So how does Centric keep up with that?
Yeah, I think the easiest way to the easiest way to describe how we keep up with it is we have a lot of people here who are curious about
Mm.
cybersecurity, right? I think the most talented people who work on our curriculum are the people that aren't trying to advance Centric's curriculum. They're
Mhm.
just curious on what's happening in cybersecurity right now, right? I can't tell you how many times I've sat down in a curriculum meeting and somebody says, this is a really cool thing happening that our students need. And you ask, well, how did you come up with that? Like, where did you
Yeah.
find this, right? Like, oh, well, I was just, one of our guys calls it a hyper focus. He says, I was doing a hyper focus and I landed on this topic and it caught my eye and I just dove in. And I think this is something critical that people should know, which is, I think, one of the biggest ways we keep up because
Hmm.
our instructors are industry professionals who are curious about IT and are
Yeah.
curious about cybersecurity. We do also work quite a bit with the people who hire our graduates, right? So this is
Hmm.
where Brady and I tie in really closely, where he will communicate what employers are looking for, and
Hmm.
we kind of direct our curriculum study to try and find what lines up.
All right.
But so much of it sort of just happens organically
Hmm.
because our instructors and our
Hmm.
curriculum professionals are as excited about cybersecurity as our students are,
Yeah.
right?
That hyper focus, I know I can relate to that. I know, a lot of people maybe on the more ADHD side of things
you know,
are familiar with that hyper focus,
right.
but so it's kind of cool that we have that on staff because I know that can also make things difficult for a student, which I'm sure our student success folks work with them on that.
100%. I think we have a lot of conversations that circle around. I know I struggle with this, so
Yeah.
others definitely do.
Yeah.
So try and have that realism, and that I think that bleeds into every part of our program, curriculum, in
Sure.
class, and how we structure breaks and all of that.
Hmm.
Because a lot of us do kind of fall into that
Yeah.
realm.
But it kind of works for IT, right? Because it is
It, you
always
know,
changing.
it I
Keeps
have
it interesting.
noticed, yes, it does help, and I feel like a large part of IT also kind of runs in the same vein of that, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So what are some of the changes that you've seen recently? What are some pivots
Yeah.
that we've had to make here?
Yeah, a pivot. That's a great word for it. I like that. So obviously, if you have ever used a Microsoft computer, you know they're constantly changing. And that's not unique
All
to
the
Microsoft,
updates.
right? Apple does this as well. Even
Mm-hmm.
Linux does this as well. But Microsoft, it kind of becomes the boogeyman for updates for a lot of things. So they don't just do that with their programs and operating systems. We notice that even with our industry certifications that we teach, right? Recently, we had a certification that we got a fairly short notice, a pretty quick turnaround that, this certification is going to be kind of realigned with the emerging, kind of AI trends. It's
Mm-hmm.
kind of not following where they want it right now, so they're going to rewrite it. And we have, some upcoming classes that are going to be studying in that cert. So we not for the first time kind of dive
Mm-hmm.
in and say, okay, what is the most appropriate cert to replace it with that still delivers the kind of topics that our employers expect while giving the education that our students came here for, right? They come to Centriq expecting to learn the latest and greatest. So
Yeah.
that is, we've had 2 emergency curriculum meetings so far this week. There will be more.
This week.
Yeah, definitely. There will be more as we push forward and kind of figure out what makes sense with the new certifications, how we're going to teach them, right? So we're going to obviously have the curriculum team involved. We're also going to pull an instructor in who's going to be the first person that teaches these new certs. That instructor is getting that cert immediately. One of the curriculum team already has it, which is crazy.
Oh.
It's not one that we were kind of focused on, but already has the cert, which again just comes from that curiosity that our staff has.
Because it's not just preparing the students for it. The staff has to stay up to date as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And cloud specifically, it's been around, I think we're not quite 10 years, I can pretty confidently say, but the staff, while they're here teaching, they're not necessarily in it the way you are when you're in the field working. So some of our staff have come in with it now, right? We've come to that full cycle. And some of our staff have just dove in. They have found projects. They've, volunteered around. I know one of our curriculum individuals loves kind of volunteering around Kansas City for various IT projects and learns a lot that way.
Yeah.
But just trying to find the way to get out and stay current with the industry and stay current with what the certs are. So when we run into this situation, right, when there is a big change, it's not all of us staring at each other saying, what do we do? It's, okay, here is what people are talking about. Here is the next certification. Here is the big one that Microsoft is offering. How do we kind of pivot, adjust our curriculum, and make it, useful and valuable for our students?
So you can change that right away. You can, change midstream, even in the middle of a cohort going through the program.
Absolutely. Our restrictions are honestly very minimal, and our processes are designed in such a way that we can pivot.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no reason or excuse. Let's say this certification expires, and I say, well, we have questions. We have to follow this process, so we're teaching you what is essentially an expired certification that you can't actually achieve. That doesn't do anybody any good.
No.
So we do have some certifying authorities that we have to report to, but our processes are all very quick, and the turnaround can be, in some cases, a matter of weeks.
Wow. So how does that compare to college?
So, I started my IT journey in higher education, and I have a couple of friends who are now teaching at the university level from those days.
Oh, yeah.
And I can tell you that right now they are beginning a semester. If they were teaching a course, and getting ready to pivot to a new semester, which is a couple of months away, I am not confident. And based on the conversations I've had with him, I know they wouldn't be able to put something that new out. In fact, universities are and have been scrambling to find the right talent to try and do this, to kind of do what we do naturally.
Sure.
Right. And
wow.
So many universities are not willing to make that jump.
Yeah.
And even the ones that do are still tied to their curriculum in such a way that they're sort of kind of stuck. It takes them years in some cases to turn around, just based on what I have seen and the conversations I've had. But I mean, even from the student perspective, buddies that I served with who got out and they went and used their GI Bill, and they're doing the university thing, because that's what you do, right?
Sure.
You spend 4 years and a ton of money, government money, I guess, but using that GI Bill that you earned. And I'm the IT guy in my print group. I get that phone call, right? Like, hey, this is what we just talked about. And I'm, why are we talking about this? Right? No, why is this the topic you're talking about? And we dig into it, and I realize, well, they're taking a hardware class. They have to talk about hardware, and they're talking about hardware we haven't used in production since, maybe the late 90s for people that were super out of date.
Wow.
And that's an eternity in IT, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about, vampire tap networks, which is a coaxial cable that you stab a piece of metal into so the signal can get to the computer. Nobody has used that in production in 20 plus years, right? That is not something that anybody needs to learn about unless you're curating an IT museum, which admittedly most IT departments have a museum somewhere. They have the shelf of all this stuff they never threw away, right? Some people decorate it up a little more than others. But, aside from sort of that situation. Why waste your time and your dollars, right?
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
money to learn about things that you will not see,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
That's something that I love about Centriq, and I guess I'm a little biased because I do have my hand in the pot a little bit,
Mm.
right? Of making sure, the most out of date thing that we're going to talk about is like, look, you might see this type of equipment, and if you see it, you need to pull it out. Because those haven't been used in 5 to 10 years. That could be causing you problems. You need to get that out of your network. That is the most we're going to dig into it, right?
Yeah.
We're not going to give you a history lesson and throw you in this exam to ensure that you know the history of IT.
Right.
That's something. There's some great videos on YouTube that you can find
You
if
can
you're
go do
really,
that
if
on
that's
your
your
own.
hobby, right? You can find that.
Mm-hmm.
But really trying to focus on what matters, what's important, and what you're going to use out in the field today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have that ability to quickly pivot. There's nothing left in our curriculum that is just there because it has been there for 10 years,
Sure.
right? I mean, I know you could have somebody who was an instructor here, left for 5 years and come back, and they may not recognize the program at all because we change consistently every single year. Every iteration changes. And even in the middle of the year, we might throw changes out, right?
Sure.
So it's so quick
Yeah.
to come around, and the entire thing could be different, as a manager, I do a lot less teaching these days, but I still have to jump out. I'm teaching a class this evening or I have to be able to jump in and know I still am aware of what's in because we've made so many cuts, so many adjustments. I have to stay current, even not having that direct instructor role all the time.
Well, I know when I went to college, not for IT, for new media, I was in college for 4 years, right? And a lot of that was spent on foundational knowledge, which was really history of media, and which there's a lot of that knowledge has come in handy in a kind of a philosophical way.
Sure,
definitely. But once I got into my career, it was a lot of learning on the job, and I had to learn quickly, and a lot of my peers could not do that.
Yeah.
But Centriq does provide a foundation.
Yes.
But it seems like that foundation is changing depending on what employers are looking for, right?
Absolutely. I went through the program a while ago. Let's not do the math here. And really the focus when I came through was fixing hardware, right? Hardware servers, having a rack of servers in front of you. And there's still a place for that. And we still talk about that. But the industry has shifted significantly since I came through. And now, we have words like cybersecurity, right? That was not necessarily something we talked about a lot when I was a student. Security was just sort of a part of IT, but we didn't really focus on it. We all carried little flash drives or CDs around that had programs on it that our supervisors never really looked into or cared about because what damage could I do as an IT person with a tool that can crack passwords, right?
Right.
So I mean, really the idea that what I went through is almost unrecognizable. I mean, the format is similar. There are some familiar faces. But what I went through compared to what it is now, and jokes aside, it hasn't been that terribly long since I came through.
Yeah.
It is an entirely different program. We've given it a new name entirely because we're no longer focusing really towards when I came through with system administrators, right? And that's still a job title. That's still out there.
Yeah.
But really, the big push is in cybersecurity. So we realigned the entire course to cybersecurity. Security was 1 week when I came through. Now it's 4 weeks. And it was entirely, when I came through, it was entirely a certification. That was it. We basically studied for the cert. We talked about the cert, and then we went and took the cert. Now we spend about half the day talking about a certification and half the day breaking out virtual machines and actually cracking passwords, doing network tracing, doing the actual tasks you might do out in the field, hands-on, 100%. That, again, would have been unrecognizable when I came through the program. And again, that was less than 10 years ago, right? I'm trying to do the math in my head as I talk, but
I thought we
it wasn't that long. I know, I'm not giving exact numbers, but truly, the amount of change we've seen is wild, and the amount of the types of jobs that students are getting. Sure, everybody kind of starts in help desk. That's definitely a thing, but where they're going after that first help desk job is incredible. the types of job titles we see from our graduates is just staggering, especially compared to what it was when I was entering the field.
Yeah.
You know.
So on that topic though, and maybe, this is a sensitive area, but what about some of our alumni from 2, 5, 10 years ago? Are they, what has Centriq provided for them to make sure they can pivot and can change with the industry? Because it is ever changing.
It is.
We don't want a graduate from last year to find themselves in a situation where they don't know what to do. So how does Centriq help provide a foundation where they can learn?
Yeah. So I sat with a student yesterday evening who was kind of struggling. It's very early in the program, and we're kind of doing the foundational. I don't know how to answer the questions you're asking, right? And I was very curious about this because I have some bias, right? But the questions, especially early in the program, are kind of designed to make you think, but not to stump you, right? And what I found as I sat down and I talked to this student is they were really looking for the exact quantifiable right answer. And spent hours of researching and like, here's what I have this and I have this and I have this. And I sat down and I looked at what they had put together just in this hour that they had spent kind of researching. And I just kind of kept asking questions. What was kind of your mindset? What were you looking for as you were searching this? And they were just finally like, well, this felt like the answer. This is where I landed, but that couldn't be it because it's so non-exact, right? And I said, okay, so in the first 10 minutes of your research, you actually answered the question. The rest was kind of you spinning your wheels because you were very unsure. You didn't have that confidence to kind of take the next step. So it is less important for me, for a student, to give me the perfect answer, right? We have questions that we ask students that might have 20 answers, exactly like you would in the real world out in the field when your boss comes up to you and says, hey, I need you to do this. I need you to accomplish this task for me, or I need you to tell me what the answer to this is. And what I finally kind of, as we talked and we kind of brought the student around to is sometimes saying, you don't know, or this is the research, but this is as far as I got, is the right answer. So all of that to say, a lot of conversation, a lot of talking, a lot of me hearing my own voice, which I do love, to say, I don't want you to memorize and spit out answers. There is a place for that. Certifications do require memorizing acronyms. That is there. I want you to be able to go out to the open internet, find the answer to this question I'm asking, and come back and give me your opinion of that answer. That is what I need out of an IT professional. We as a company spend so much time trying to convince students, I want you to research and I want you to get stuck in your research process. And I want you to come to me and explain why you're stuck in your research process. Because if you can learn that here, if you can learn that in 4 to 6 months, depending on what program you're enrolled in, you have learned something that when I was training new techs in the field, couldn't get a younger or a green tech to do in the first year or two of their career. So it's not so much that I want you to memorize all of these facts. I want you to understand what's happening behind the scenes and be able to form your own opinions, right?
Right. That's kind of critical thinking.
Critical thinking, absolutely. And that idea that, there may not be a flashcard to fix a custom piece of software that you're running on a custom designed server in your environment. You may not be able to go out and just say, what is, error 123 on server X, right? You truly might have to look at how that software interacts. You might have to look at some sort of server environment, maybe a Linux environment, and say, oh, these are kind of the quirks that this particular flavor of Linux has. I need you to be able to put those pieces together. Say, well, we never learned this at Centriq, but you did learn how to go out and do that research, right?
Oh, I love that.
And so often I've had students come back and say, we sort of lightly talked about this. It really grabbed my interest. I really dug in on it. And it turns out they've become an expert on that weird subsection that we may have spent 20 minutes on here in course. But we've hopefully instilled those critical thinking skills and that ability to go out and do your own research.
Yeah.
And so many of those kind of alumni that come back, they're like, Centriq gave me the key. Right? I didn't give you the answers. I gave you the key to get in the door. And once you got in the door, you got to kind of focus where you're at. which is also great. If you're a student here who hates a certain topic we're doing, you can take it the other way, right? Of maybe I can have an entire career without ever having to do this because I don't like
which
this.
might be a relief.
Right, and that is for some
Yeah.
people, but it does kind of work both ways there.
Yeah. I love to hear that alumni are coming back and talking with you, and you're open to that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we from everything from they come back and sometimes they take a test with Tim down front, right? Everybody loves coming back to see Tim
Everybody
again.
loves Tim.
So they're coming back for their advanced certifications. Sometimes they'll come back and have conversations with us, and we'll record videos of them that we can use with our students, right? I've learned this both teaching class and raising kids that sometimes you got to hear it from somebody else, right? You're not going to hear it from mom or dad or your instructor, right?
Yeah.
So we do try and get testimonials from our alumni for these students to see, and we get to have those great conversations, right? We get these opportunities to meet with our graduates.
So it's a 4 to 6 month program.
Sure. Yep.
But it's kind of a lifetime of connection.
Oh, absolutely. I think every graduation I've ever attended, I hear, we're not done with you.
Yeah.
We're in contact with you. Our student services people, our instructors, we want to hear what you do next. That's what keeps a lot of us coming to work. That's what keeps a lot of us kind of here in the teaching side of the industry. Some of us who never thought that we would be an instructor or a teacher, right? Because of those stories and those conversations we get to have from our alumni who come back and share these crazy things they've done, from everything from working at a car wash. Was one of the first students, one of the first classes I taught was working at a car wash, and is now a director of IT for a pretty large company here in Kansas City. So, I mean, it is really cool to see those things and to kind of have those conversations and connections.
Wow, that's so cool. All right. Well, thank you, Andrew.
Absolutely.
This has been a
Thank you
great
for having me.
conversation. I feel like I've learned things about Centriq
yep.
that I didn't know before.
A teacher, right?
Yeah,
nothing
you're a
else.
teacher. All right. Well, thank you.
Yep. Thank you.